Hello, how are you? Some people tell me that in the middle of the afternoon, it feels like the brain slows down, energy is lacking, and there's that urge for some extra stimulation. And many people turn to coffee looking for that energy that's running low. A lot of people think it has to do with low energy, with not enough coffee, but usually it's not a lack of stimulation, it's a lack of balance. And there's a habit you can start adopting that can really help you with this. I'm going to tell you about it here, what this habit is and how to do it in a safe and proper way. Stick around until the end because you won't want to miss this. Before we start, I want to ask if you're one of those people who, when the afternoon comes, already feels that tiredness, that real exhaustion, and then runs for coffee. This can be bad for you. It can harm your night's sleep, increase anxiety, and even cause dehydration. Coffee can bring many benefits, but only in moderate amounts throughout our day. So write here and tell me if you've been overdoing it with coffee or not. I'd love to see your comment. Go ahead and like the video. That's really important to me. It shows YouTube that you support the channel and that you trust my content. And if you know someone who's always tired, share this video. Maybe it will help them. The important thing is for us to try to understand a little, why does our brain slow down in the afternoon? Why do we usually feel this tiredness? This drop in energy in the middle of the afternoon doesn't happen by chance. Our body follows a biological rhythm, which we call the circadian cycle. It comes from the word meaning about a day. And within this rhythm, there's a natural dip in alertness at the beginning and middle of the afternoon. This ends up being normal. The problem is when this drop is very abrupt, and that's where the three main factors that can affect it come in: glucose, hydration, and electrolytes. Many people don't know this. So, talking a little about these issues, starting first with the matter of glucose. If after your lunch, right, you consume a very large amount of white bread, white pasta, white potatoes, pasta, a lot of rice, a diet very rich in glucose, with a high glycemic index and low in fiber, this causes a very rapid glucose spike. So a few hours later, it's natural for there to be a drop, and it can be more abrupt depending on the amount of insulin your body had to secrete to cover the amount of carbohydrates you consumed. So this ends up causing an energy fluctuation, and with this drop comes the feeling of tiredness, lack of focus, that craving for a little coffee or something sweet. It's not just a lack of energy, it's an energy that rises and falls very quickly, causing a big fluctuation. Besides that, there's an issue, as I mentioned to you, that few people know about and is rarely discussed these days, which is the role of electrolytes in our body. Throughout the day, we end up losing fluids all the time, right? Even just breathing causes us to lose fluids, but sweat, urine, even just by talking, we get dehydrated. We lose fluids throughout the day. And many times, we even drink water, but we don't pay attention to the issue of electrolytes. Water alone helps, but the body works better when there is a proper balance between water intake and the correct balance of minerals in our body. When we think about electrolytes, we usually think a lot about sodium. Sodium is one of the main electrolytes in our body, and it plays an essential role because it's related to the generation of electrical impulses between neurons. Every thought, every decision, every bit of focus depends on these electrolytes, these electrical impulses, these electrical signals. When sodium balance isn't ideal, these signals become less efficient. This leads to that feeling of a slower mind and difficulty concentrating, and even an unexplained tiredness, of course. So, what many people try to do in this situation is take a single coarse salt crystal, put it under their tongue, wait for it to dissolve, and then drink a large glass of water afterwards. Ideally, you should do this with unrefined salt because that white refined table salt isn't as nutritious as unrefined salt, or even fleur de sel, which is different from that regular kitchen salt, which is refined and bleached. That kitchen salt that people usually consume every day, the plain white one, is pure sodium chloride. And the unrefined versions I mentioned preserve traces of magnesium and potassium, which are minerals that help sodium enter the cell in a more balanced way, ensuring it fulfills its role in electrical conduction without causing unnecessary fluid retention. So the quality of the salt itself is important, but obviously the quantity is too. As I told you, it's just a single grain of salt, okay? You're not supposed to fill your mouth with salt because, as with anything, too much is excessive and can cause some kind of harm to you. Usually, when your problem is related to this, you'll notice a quick improvement. Because when you put something salty in your mouth, you activate sensory receptors that send immediate signals to our brain. In addition, we increase saliva production, slightly stimulate the nervous system, and improve our perception of energy. So, part of the effect is sensory and neurological. It's not just biochemical. It's a combination of sensory stimulation, a physiological adjustment, and hydration itself because you'll drink a glass of water afterward. This is very different from when you're feeling tired and just have another coffee. As I mentioned, this excess coffee, if you feel tired and have a coffee, it might help for a while, but then you can crash again because coffee doesn't address the root of the problem. It just masks the fatigue signal a bit. So if someone gets to 3 p.m., has already had 2 coffees and is still tired, when they start adjusting their hydration and include small amounts of electrolyte strategies, as I mentioned, their energy tends to become more stable. So it won't be a spike of energy like coffee gives you, but it also won't give you that sudden crash you usually get from having that coffee. So if you want to try this out in practice, to test it at home and see if it makes sense for you, just take a tiny grain of unrefined salt or fleur de sel in your mouth. Ideally, place it right under your tongue and let it dissolve slowly. Then drink a large glass of water. And ideally, you should pause for a few seconds, giving your body time to absorb it and to get out of that automatic mode. Some people will benefit more from this, especially those who feel a drop in energy in the afternoon, those who have trouble staying focused at that time, those who don't drink much water throughout the day, because this little grain of salt will make you thirsty and encourage you to drink more water, or those who sweat a lot or live in a very hot climate. But I do need to make a disclaimer here for you. This isn't a magic solution. If your sleep is poor, if your diet is disorganized, if you eat a lot of sugar or simple carbs, the effect will be limited, and you shouldn't overdo it with the salt, especially if you have high blood pressure or any kind of sodium restriction. So here's an important warning, right? Although the amount of sodium in a single grain of salt is extremely low, and for most people it has no impact at all on your blood pressure. If you are hypertensive, if you have a severe medical restriction on salt, you cannot do this without prior authorization from the healthcare professional who is following your case in your city. The goal here is a finer adjustment of electrolytes, but those with sensitive health really need to prioritize conventional hydration. Furthermore, if you feel any kind of gastric discomfort or any other discomfort from doing this, the best thing is to stop, right? Always remember to consult your doctor or nutritionist in your city. This video here is for informational purposes only. It's also important for us to mention the difference between being chronically tired, sleeping poorly, having an accumulation of adenosine in your brain, and actually being dehydrated. A lot of people say, I'm still tired even doing this hack of adding salt, of drinking water in the afternoon. Maybe it's because you're sleeping very poorly. So remember that this won't replace a good night's sleep. If you have trouble sleeping, there's an entire playlist here with lots of tips to help you sleep better. You'll find information on the best and worst foods for sleep, along with tips on how to adjust your bedroom and overall environment to promote a more restful and relaxing night's sleep. I'll leave a link to this playlist down below in the description. I want to know if you've already tried this. If you haven't tried it, try it out and let me know what benefits you noticed. I would love to see your comment. Remember to like the video. It really helps me here on the channel, and to share it with someone who needs it or will enjoy it. Let's work together to expand this chain of kindness. That's what I want here with the channel. See you next time. Bye.